Hi, welcome to Hold the Light, a show for lifelong learners who are curious about the ways we can deepen our connection to our personal and spiritual growth. I'm Lori Gunning Grossman. I'm here to hold the light for the light holders of the world. One of the things I love about being in this space of personal and spiritual growth is the community, the curious souls who are here to explore and evolve. I love when my friends in this space work with the healers and the mediums and the mystics and then share their experience with me. I'm like a sponge. I want to hear it all. And this happened with today's guest, Reverend Liliana Barzola. So first about Liliana. She is a renowned spiritual intuitive and founder and CEO of Lotus Lantern Healing Arts. She's been a psychic intuitive since childhood and uses her gift to help people and organizations find clarity and direction, and has conducted over 20,000 in-person and phone intuitive sessions and has taught over 600 students since 2002. As she says, oftentimes psychic sensitives are the most in need of healing and support, and that she likes to think of herself as the healer's healer. So I first heard about Liliana after a dear soul sister in this space had a couple of energy clearing sessions with her. My friend said that in both sessions, Liliana immediately identified sticky thought bubbles that were, as she says, messing her up. One session was about clearing the energy of guilt from a relationship that had ended for my friend. Liliana reframed it as a cosmic contract that needed to close. And then her next session was about clearing the energy of the world and the energy of other people that get stuck to my friend and that she tends to carry around, like it does for many of us. So after she told me about this, and she raved about Liliana, I knew that I wanted to talk with Liliana here on Hold the Light. Among other things we talk about in this conversation, of course, we talk about energy, why it gets stuck in our bodies and how it manifests. I was curious, what does stuck energy look like? And Liliana also shares how to clear our energy, how to ground ourselves, and also how to tap into our intuition. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Liliana Barzola. I am thrilled to talk to you because I heard about you through a dear friend of mine who in turn heard about you through some other people. And people said, go talk to Liliana to get some help with their energy, some energy work. Now, I know some people went to see you specifically like for medical intuitive energy work. So how do you describe yourself in all that you do?
That's a great question. So I don't call myself a medical intuitive for a couple of reasons. One is I don't really like the liability of being a medical intuitive. I don't really know what that means.
Okay.
There's medical nothing for me, but I do work with the whole being, right? So the body's part of it. So yes, we talk about our bodies and our physicality and our health and those things, of course, but I don't think I have enough physiology and anatomy training personally to call myself that. So other thing that I would add is sometimes when people are, looking at using their intuition muscle and kind of calling themselves an intuitive or becoming more intuitive, of course, it's something we all have. It's innate. It's within all of us. But when that kind of gets kicked up, people start to really get into their analyzer and they want to be perfect and they want to learn everything and they want to know everything. And sometimes the innocence or the less you know, the more effective you can be. So that's kind of how I had a teacher once who said, don't ever try to be a master, always stay in kindergarten. And I think my success over the past 20 years, because a lot of people get burnt out, whether they're in social work or they're doing intuitive work or whatever they're doing with people and healing. My trick is just to kind of stay in kindergarten, like that elder shared with me so many years ago. And I'll give you just a quick example. So, sometimes I'll work with doctors and they'll be the specialist managing all the medical stuff, but we might look at a treatment plan and together we might kind of get really specific about what's priority or what's going to be more tolerable for somebody. And so you get these moments where I have no idea why like vitamin E is coming up, for example. And they have the scientific knowledge to know, well, right, the reason vitamin E is coming up is for this. So it kind of validates their analyzer brain that has kind of already been on the sort of detective, right? Because being an intuitive is like being a detective. And then together we kind of play. It's like you kind of need a left brain and a right brain. And sometimes when you're two in your analyzer, as intuitive as a lot of the doctors I work with are, they kind of need a little bit more like of that woo woo to really hit their target.
Oh my God, I love it. It's such a wonderful complement to each other, I imagine, like the two different modalities. Okay, so you have been an intuitive psychic since you were a child.
Yeah.
And how did you discover that? How do you know that you have this gift?
Yeah. So my mother's side is like heavily Irish. Both my parents are from South America, from Argentina specifically. In South America, Argentina specifically can be very a melting pot of different nationalities and immigration and all those kinds of things. So my dad is indigenous. He's dark skinned and, you know, he's native to that land. I don't know what, you know, groups we're from or anything like that, because all of that information is lost. But from him, I get that sort of the kind of earth energy, that knowledge. And I think people that are more melanated, I had someone explain to me that people that are more melanated hold the energy of the sun. And I loved that vibration or that idea that there's like a glow, like the sun can kind of come into them and they can hold that sun energy, and that lighter skinned people hold the energy of the moon. So I think of my mom as more that kind of moon nurture energy, and my dad is more that sun energy. And so together, I kind of found my way. So in the Irish side, it was like reading tea leaves. And I had a great grandmother who would read the cards, the playing cards for the neighborhood, you know, those kinds of witchy things. And then together, like with some training, of course, like when I was 19, I started working with some different practitioners to kind of find my way of reading energy. But initially, it was so overwhelming that I was actually quite sick. And that leads me to my fascination with the body and helping people with chronic illness, because it's sort of like there's this new age idea that it's mind over matter, you know, that you could just positively think your cancer away. And I did not find that to be true as a person who was both energetically sick and physically sick. So I like to think of those two things separate and together. And so it's like my experience, you know, and when you read a lot in Native culture, they'll say oftentimes a shaman or a medicine person is born from their ailment, like their sickness, their ailment is kind of what is their initiation in a way. And so I would say that was true for me as a child. That sickness kind of made me realize that I couldn't think my way out of it. I needed to respect my bandwidth energetically. How was I overgiving? Where could I conserve my energy more? And in addition, what sort of environmental things was I being exposed to? What was going on with my blood and my body and my bones and my skin and all those things?
And as a person so you read energy. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes.
Okay. So here's my question. I just need to know right off the bat. So as you're walking around the world and you're looking at people, like you and I are looking at each other right now, other people are listening, do you see energy? And what does it look like?
Yes, not with my eyeballs.
Okay.
And actually, a big part of my practice is teaching people to hone their intuition, however it works for them.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of names and labels for things, but in a very plain way, when you are reading constantly, you're not living your life as your Liliana self, right? So I kind of think it's in poor taste for me to be like snooping.
Yeah.
I remember I was getting my hair dyed one time, and a bunch of the people knew what my job was because I use color. I use color as a way to be a common language to describe the energy that I'm seeing, because color is a frequency. There's not a lot of language in our culture for how to talk about the subtleties of life or the subtle body. And so I was getting my hair colored, and like there was all this commotion going on in the corner, and the hairdresser said, they think they're reading their colors. And I just said, no, we were talking about what color to put on your hair.
Oh my gosh.
So rest assured, anyone around me has their privacy.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to, are you ever like, I'm just meeting this person. I need to read their energy to see, I don't know, if you're going to get along with them or if it's the right relationship. You can do that if you
That's a
want to.
great question. I think just like you, I have those feelings, right? There's feedback. I have an energy field and I'm constantly getting feedback. So just like you, I wouldn't probably need to even open that up
Hmm.
really specifically, but I would just sort of get a sense, just like you do, like you like a person or you don't, or you're like repulsed or you're attracted or you're magnetized. And then when I get curious, yeah, you're right. Later on, I might like pull some cards. So using tarot cards is a fun way to tell a story or to look at the cards become a container for the story. So I would look at that person and me and the energy between using cards and kind of see like, hey, is it in our highest good to move forward with this? So in that way, I would.
Oh, that's amazing. I appreciate that you just said that because I wasn't even thinking about how or I'll speak for myself, I do have my own internal guidance system where I can meet someone and be like, I really like that person. Or I can meet someone and be like, that doesn't feel right to me, or that energy. And yet I may not trust it as much as I would trust somebody who's saying that this is what they do. This is who they are. So it's interesting to think that, like, wow, we do all have this internal guidance system. And I think that that's probably, I'm imagining what you teach people, because you already brought up intuition. And this is like, I know that you work with people to help them to what, hone their own intuition or strengthen it, believe it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a program called the ABC collection. It's really basic. A is alignment, B is boundaries, C is clairvoyance.
Mm.
And so some people will just do A alignment because it's just basic kind of like energy tools, how to ground spaces, how to move through space, because people who have a lot of anxiety are oftentimes just picking up on all the energy in the room.
Mm.
So if we give them a different job with an energy tool, like, hey, maybe you're picking up the energy in the room. Why don't you ground rooms when you go into them?
Mm.
Kind of gives them something to do so that energy isn't just floating all around and then they become like the grounding rod and everyone's grounding through them. So learning some basic tools can kind of help you just like bump through life with a little bit more success and calmness, because I think people who are really anxious are sometimes very just hyper aware. They're getting a lot of information. It's overwhelming. And
Yeah.
then B boundaries is more like working with other people. What does that look like? What if you were going to like exchange energy? How could you do that safely? Do you want to do that? And then C clairvoyance is like, how does my, inner eyeball work? Kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Hey guys, just a quick break to let you know that I'm offering free meditations and affirmations on my website. Simply go to holdthelightcollective.com/free-meditations. There you can download audio tracks such as my Illuminate Your Light meditation or Deep Breathing for Peace. You'll also have access to my I Am Affirmations customizable tool, where you can create your own audio track, choosing from over 250 words, such as I am light, I am fearless, or I am loved. Use the promo code FREE. Visit holdthelightcollective.com/free-meditations. Okay, so you said that you teach some people a grounding, like they can walk into a room and they can do a grounding. Are they doing a grounding of the room or are they doing a grounding of themselves? And how do they do that?
So basically, grounding a room is a way to make it safe for everyone. So if you're grounding a room, it doesn't mean you're controlling the room. So that's good to know, because you want to think about etiquette and like, what's safe to do. We never want to kind of get entangled in other people's agreements and things like that, especially unconsciously. So
Yeah.
grounding a room is a way to say everyone can be here. And you know that feeling where you go into a space and you feel maybe you're invited, but you're not welcome. There's like an undertone of energy.
Hmm.
And so when you ground a space, it's a way to give yourself a right to be there. This is especially important for people who have been oppressed, like histories of oppression, women, people of color, all of these things where you kind of feel like you don't fit in. So if you take the top four corners of the room, and I kind of pretend I'm a cowgirl and I just lasso those corners in. So I'll go grab one. And if you've got funny, maybe you don't have a square shaped room, it's fine. You just kind of do your best, the top four corners and the bottom four corners, and you bring them into the center. So like if you were holding the strands of a helium balloon, right, you're bringing all those strands into the center. Then you stand in the center of the room. You might have to do this in your mind, right? Because maybe you're in a business meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're standing in the center of the room in your mind or in real time. And then you imagine grounding that energy down into the earth, almost like when you pull the plug in a bathtub and it starts to swirl down.
Mm-hmm.
Also imagine the room is you're in a tree house and you've got that beautiful tree trunk going down. And so what you're doing is creating these sort of lines of energy for highest good, essentially. So especially good to do if you're scared. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you're freaked out and you're like, oh my God, it's a terrible dream, like ground that room, because anything dark in there is just going to go down to Mama Earth for fertilizer to be recycled.
I love it. I just got chills when you said that. That's so good. I love the waking up in the middle of the night when you feel a little scared too. And what a great thing to teach kids.
Yes. Yeah. And so people will want to have their kids learn this stuff. And although we don't have programs for kids, we tell the parents, take the program, teach the kids the tools. Yeah. I do cuss in some of the videos.
So don't let the kids watch. Yeah, I don't
know. Yeah, so I'm like, you can teach them yourself.
Yeah.
But I remember my mom one time was teaching her grandkids how to ground a room, and she was just dancing around the room and lassoing the corners in. So with kids, you just want to teach it with a little flair.
Yeah. Oh, I love these kind of tools. What about if you want to, you said B is for boundary. Are there energetic ways for people to create their own boundary energetically? Like if they're walking into a room, if they're around people that maybe they have to be around, but sucks some of their energy out. Like what can someone do there?
Yeah. So you know how when you're like in school or you're getting on the bus and like there's someone you don't like and you're like, oh, God, don't sit next to me, don't sit next to me, don't sit next to me, don't sit next to me. And they come and sit right next to you.
Yeah.
You're like, what? It's not working. My powers aren't working. It's because you're unconsciously drawing them to you through that resistance, right? So you never want to get in an energetic power struggle.
Yeah.
So you want to go to neutrality. So it's like, just for example, man, I really hate that person. Find a way to kind of ground the energy. There's communication spaces. So from my lips to my partner's ears, right? We all have these experiences in relationship where we might say something with one intention versus impact, but what my partner hears is so different. And I'm like, what happened?
Right.
So grounding that communication space with your imagination. And I kind of itsy bitsy spider it, because you know that part of the song where it's like the itsy bitsy spider, and then out came the sun and down came the rain. Yeah. And so you can imagine something elemental. The sun comes out or the rain comes down between you and that person that you're having that conflict with. Or maybe it's not even a negative thing, but gosh, if you're falling in love with someone, it's really hot, passionate. Good luck sleeping for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
You're so excited.
Yeah.
So you can ground that communication space. So that's just an easy one with boundaries of just keeping that space kind of neutral and clean.
Yeah. I love it. You know what sometimes I do? I just like made up my own thing where I sometimes pretend like I'm in a glass, almost like a glass egg, or, you know, where it's like my own little armor. Like you can't penetrate it. We can still be talking and everything, but I just imagine that like sometimes someone's energy is just like bouncing off of it. Like it doesn't come into this, but it's just bouncing off of my own little imaginary shield, I guess you can call it.
And if you were my student, Lori, I would give you like 10 gold stars for making up your own tool, because the whole point of these is that you can kind of create your own versions of things, right? Because what might work for me might not work for you. So I love your tool that you're sharing with all of us. That's awesome.
Cool. Thank you. I want to read something that I saw that you wrote that I love it so much. You have said that the things that make me weird and quirky are also the things that make me a great healer. And I love this. So I'm wondering, how do these two things complement each other?
Yeah. I think that when you're not in the status quo, you have a little bit more understanding of the complexity of the human experience. So you're never going to tell
Mm,
someone like, oh, you're grieving for too long, like, oh, you have this loss, like it's been a couple months, you should be fine now.
right.
I think that when you're a little bit weird and quirky, you kind of understand that. I think every time I learned a rule with energy tools, like someone would have a hard, fast rule, like, oh, the chakras spin one direction, they never spin the other direction.
Hmm.
Then I would see like 20 people all spinning the other direction. So I think there's guidelines, but not rules. And so I think the quirkiness kind of gives you a little bit of depth and understanding as you're working with people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um, okay, so here's my question. Why does energy get stuck in our bodies? And then what does stuck energy look like? So is it stuck? Can it be stuck in all different parts of our bodies? And like, what does that connect to?
Yeah, so very basic. When I'm looking at a person's energy field, the the think about a river that's moving, right?
Mm.
It's like you're going to see colors that are really clear. It's like you can see clear down to the bottom and like, oh, beautiful, look at that beautiful water moving. And then when something's stuck, you know what it looks like when water is pooling, it gets kind of muddy and dark. So it's not that dark colors are negative because you can see the most beautiful obsidian in someone's space,
Mm.
black obsidian. You're like, oh, that's such a healthy color, right? So it's not a matter of light colors are good and dark colors are bad. It's about the clarity, the quality of it.
Mm.
So it's very easy. You can do this yourself to just scan your body when your eyes are closed or open or however you do it. And you use your imagination. So you start with make believe. And the purpose for that is that the imagination is your vehicle for intuition. So if I was to ask you, what'd you have for dinner last night? You would probably use your imagination to try to tap that memory. You'd be like, okay, where was I? I was in the kitchen. And then you're going to remember it.
Mm.
But if I challenged you and I said, well, did you really have that? Or are you just making it up? Because did you use your imagination to find that memory? Then you get like confused, right? So the way that you harness intuition or you tap into your intuition is to like be like a child, be in your vehicle of imagination and see where that takes you. And so you're using that to scan your body. You're just imagining from the top of your head down to your toes. And you're going to find that there's flow and clarity in some places. And then there's murky heaviness in other places. And then the way you clear it is just you feel it. So as 99% of all healing is just seeing. So the moment you sort of are with that discomfort or that lack of clarity, you're bringing your consciousness, which is light, and it just transforms that space.
Ooh.
So we get stuck things because of pictures. So you can read the picture, and pictures are like experiences that we've had. People talk about PTSD and they don't know what time or space they're in when they're hearing a loud noise. It's that old picture is really activated. So you can clear those pictures just by being with them and acknowledging them as a picture. It's like, oh, it's just a picture. Let me just kind of sit with that and see if I can change it.
Mm.
You might do this when you wake from a nightmare. You're like, oh God, I don't want to go back into that picture. And so you might like watch an episode of Seinfeld or
Yeah.
sit there for a second and just try to get yourself out of there before you go back, and then the picture can transform. The
Oh.
body's different. So that's the energy field. And yes, they connect. So there's this interface between the physical and energetic bodies. With the body, things get stuck just looking at an organ system. With age, I'm in my 40s, things are changing, so I might have to spend a little bit more time. And I think if you look to Eastern medicine, they have some of the best information on how to clear the physical channels of the body.
Mm. Like what?
Shiatsu, they look at the channels, they acupuncture.
Yeah.
um Everyone who's tried acupuncture has probably been amazed by, oh, that pain went away or whatever, because they're using physics to just get the channel to open.
Oh my God. It's so incredible how we are created and made up and energy. I've been thinking so much more about energy in the recent past or the recent years, just the thought how we are all energy and we're frequency, and something Jonathan and I have talked about, because we do have a background in music together, is the thought of a tuning fork, and I've talked about it here on the podcast, where you can have two tuning forks, say like in the key of A, and you can hit one tuning fork, and when it vibrates, the other tuning fork will just start to vibrate on its own because it's feeling the energy. But if you have an A, if you have an A, but then you have a C tuning fork, the C is not jiving with that energy. It's like it's on a totally different frequency. And so it's all just so fascinating to me. I love this. You mentioned how you could wake up in the middle of the night, maybe you're having a nightmare, and to create a new picture, you watch something like Seinfeld, which I love this because humor, comedy, yes, let's like raise our vibration. So do you either personally or suggest to the people that you work with have any like daily rituals to raise our energy?
Yeah, I mean, it's boring, but meditate. Like just that sitting with yourself and your feelings, or doing that scan, it just takes really 3 minutes. And I really invite people to do it like frequently throughout the day, rather than like some big, okay, I'm going to meditate for an hour every day. Like, come on, that doesn't really happen, right? At least not consistently. Maybe you could do it for 6 months and you fall off and you forget. But little things like, okay, you get to the store, you're going to go in and do your shopping. Just take a moment to like honor your success. Like, I got to the grocery store. Sometimes that is a major win.
Yeah.
And just feeling, where do I feel some discomfort? I'm just going to say hello to that discomfort.
Yeah.
My Pilates instructor, who I love, like she teaches me that oftentimes I injure myself because I'm not kind of activating my body, before I go skiing or doing something. So she's like, the warm up, right? So thinking about little warm ups throughout the day as you transition, and also like validating. I mean, it is rough out there. It is so uncomfortable. Like I like to hide out when I have people that are like, oh, I can't, I'm overstimulated. I'm like, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm hiding out in the forest.
Yeah.
So little ways that you can take some breaks for yourself, because I experienced personally, like going to a restaurant, even, I feel like so apologetic to like the waitresses and the people that work there. Cause like, it's hard. Like no one wants to be right now out there in public with everyone who's having such a hard time. And look at all of the articles about planes. Like no one can get on a plane without freaking out or creating some difficulty. And I don't mean to like minimize it or make fun of it, but it's like there is a mental health crisis going on big time all over the world. And so we have to preserve ourselves. So I'm not even exaggerating when I'm like, before you go into the grocery store, take a beat, like do your little warm up, then go do your thing, and then get back in the car and be like, I did it, high five, and then go on to the next thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so smart. And especially with people who might be a little more like sensitive, or even more sensitive to other people's energy. I know many people like that really can feel it or take it on. So as you're saying, to have these moments throughout the day, not just that one time in the morning, as these like little moments to check in and little victories. I love that. And I just also want to say this, that I love that your answer was to meditate, because this is the one thing I hear over and over from people in this space, these healers, these people who work with energy, who are meditators, who are psychic mediums, channels. It just seems like everyone says the most simple thing to do is to meditate. And I love that message. And the more I think that we can get that out to people, and as you said, it could just be 3 minutes. Like it can be simple. It doesn't have to be like a 20-minute meditation unless you want it to, then go for it. It's so simple. I love that. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this one thing. So people who would come to see you, I would love if you can give an example. And of course, no names, and maybe you even just make up this thing. But what is a situation that people would come to you for?
Oh my gosh, I love this question.
Okay.
Everything you can imagine.
Okay.
So I have people in high up corporations that are like the executives, and they might be the people that us tree huggers and organic eating people hate.
Yeah.
And they're calling me and they're going, I want to make a change. I need to do something different. Um, you have people who have been, like they've been to prison, they've done terrible, terrible things, and they come to see me and they're like, I really want to understand my shadow and what led me to this because I got fragmented somewhere
Mm.
and I want to come back to my wholeness. A lot of my work is with the shadow. So the scary things, the things that freak us out, I kind of help people understand, what is that really truly creative? You're an artist. So talking about your creativity, that can be a part of your shadow that you embrace versus, no permission to do that. What does that look when that side of ourselves gets oppressed? So it could be people who are really in crisis. There's a fall from grace, whether they're about to fall from grace, white collar crimes all the way
Mm.
down to little
Mm.
stuff. And I know that sounds super dramatic, but it's like a lot of people call me that are in like this amazing turning point in their life where they're like, Liliana, help me because I've never been this low.
Mm.
And then I get people who are like, housewives that are like their kids are going off to college and they want to change in life and they're trying to kind of come to some healing. I love working with anything around love and relationships. I've helped a lot of people get divorced. I've helped a lot of people get married.
Yeah.
So really anything. And sometimes when a person starts with me, I'll just say, this can be very specific questions you're asking, or it can be kind of freestyle conversational because my job is to come up with the questions. So if
Mm.
someone says, tell me about my life,
Yeah.
probably my least favorite question because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll get there, but let's start with a category first. So I start always with a quick energy read of what the person looks like. I like to go in cold, so I don't really want to know anything yet. And I'll give you a story. So recently I looked at a gentleman who was this really cool blue. It was almost like a sapphire blue with some metallic sparkles. And it made me think of like a matchbox car that you play with when you're a kid. And I was saying to him, okay, this is your color. You're like the matchbox car that's like
Yeah.
sapphire blue with metallic, but I'm reading it and I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. I'm just like, okay, this is your color, And so later on, he tells me, that is my guitar. That's the color of my most beloved guitar that I've had for 35 years. And it's like
Oh,
my baby, And I was like, well, your soul's that color. So no wonder you like, and people's colors can change, but no wonder at the young age, he was drawn to that guitar and was like, this is my guitar, right? So from there, we scan where the broken points are, the owie places, and then they go into questions. And then my job is to take that big question of tell me about my life and break it down into something that's really going to be more specific. We might look at the body. We might look at timelines. We might look at decisions. We might look at what college your kid's going to go to. And I'm not a predictor. Like I'm never going to be like, oh, it's going to be this college, but it's more percentages. It's like, there looks like there's like an 80% chance it's going to be this. A good example is looking at colleges because you're looking, or a new place to live because you're looking at the social environment, the academic environment, the location, the geography, what's the weather going to be like, and kind of trying to see like, where is this person going to be at their best?
okay. Now, you read parents in that particular situation. You would read a parent's energy for their child going off to college?
Yes. So a lot of, and I work with a lot of children that have like learning challenges, or they might have really extreme, maybe they're nonverbal.
Yeah.
So I would work through the parent for the child, sometimes with their doctor. And so I don't really work with kids unless the kid wants it. I definitely have like 14-year-olds that are like, they looked at my video online, they said, I want to talk to her. And then we do a reading. With kids, I do kind of whatever time they want. So they might book an hour, but 15 minutes in, I might say, does that feel like we're complete? And they might be like, yep, going on to their next thing.
Yeah.
And I obviously don't charge for more than that time. And the most part, I work through the parent. So for that example of the college, it might be more that the parent is really, like, this is the back end. Here's the dirt. I'm thinking to myself, there's a little bit of like, it's none of her business where he goes to college, right? Like there's a little bit of that like boundary piece, right?
Yeah.
So I might really dive into like, well, why is she worried? Is it money that's going to affect her bank account, or she's terrified? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
or she's terrified of something. And we might work on that, and then we'll get down to business of like, maybe there's a package that she could share with that almost adult child if it's appropriate. And I might even walk the parent through, like, don't get off the phone with me and be like, go to Stanford, but you could share some of what we talked about to see if it helps them make a clearer decision.
Okay. Now, I just have to point this out. So I am in the position, my son has applied to colleges and we're waiting to hear in March. I'm like, are you picking up stuff? Like what?
Probably, yeah. My wife always says, she's like, it's your most like flippant example that's always specific.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes her a little terrified sometimes.
It's so funny. And you are in the energy world. I mean, I'm like, I just love something like that you just happen to bring up that particular example. And it's something I'm living in. So I believe in your abilities is what I'm saying. I just think it's so, so cool. Okay, I've got, let's see, I just have one more question for you. When people are moving away from listening to this conversation, is there anything that you hope that they take away, either something that we've already covered or something that you would love for them to know just about intuition or energy or knowing how to take care of themselves? Like even if, say, for instance, if someone is not able to talk to you right now or in the near future, how we can care for ourselves with our energy every day.
Yes. I think I would say that if you're having a lot of negative thoughts or anxiety, rather than just thinking, I'm anxious, I'm so negative, you might inquire as to whether it's your thought or not. And I know this sounds kind of a little bit weird, like, what? But if I'm walking around going, God, I'm such a dummy, God, I'm such a dummy, and I just stop and go, do I really believe that about myself? Is that really my thought? It might not be. It might be something I heard 15 years ago. It might be the television show where they were saying that. And I just walked away from it. That taking a moment to just discern those negative things, because the second you recognize they're not yours, they can move on.
Love
it. So that would be my little tip.
It's so good. Self-aware. Notice our thoughts. Liliana, you are so lovely. I knew I was going to enjoy this so much talking with you. And I can't wait to share this, with the Hold the Light audience for people to discover you. And especially as we're all moving forward with the way the world is and the way everything's going on, for us to really work with ourselves and someone like you with our energy and tapping into our intuition and just shoring up those muscles for ourselves, I think is so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for having me. This was so fun and playful. And I was just, I was appreciative of your invitation, even though we didn't really know each other. That was very courageous of you to just reach out and let me book in with you. That was super fun. Thank you so much for having me. You have a great voice, by the way.
Thank you. And I also want to say, I appreciate you saying that. People, again, are not watching this right now, but you have just like your face is so bright and lit up and you have a beautiful smile. And I can see why people are drawn to working with you because your energy alone is just like this bright, shining light. So
thank you, Lori.
You're a delight.
My pleasure. This is super fun.
Right on. Thank
All right,
you.
Sweetie. Have an awesome day today.
Thank you. Same to you. And there you have it, my conversation with Liliana Barzola. Doesn't it make you think more about your energy, your vibration, and how you're using it? And that we're all part of this vast, invisible field of energy. So it's our work to become self-aware about what we're putting out there and what we're letting in. So ask yourself, who are the people you spend the most time with? What are you watching and reading? Who are you following on social media? And what words do you use when talking to yourself? all of this matters in how we feel, how we show up in our life, and what future we're pulling towards us. Thanks for listening, dear light holders. To learn more about Liliana, including how you can work with her, find her at lotuslantern.org. All links and other information can be found in our show notes. Thank you for listening to Hold the Light. For more information about this episode and the topics discussed, visit our show notes or find more at holdthelightcollective.com or on Instagram at holdthelightcollective. This podcast is produced by me, Lori Gunning-Grossman. Jonathan Grossman is our co-producer and all-around sound guru. He also wrote the original music. This podcast is recorded and mixed at Night Shift Audio in Los Angeles, California. Finally, if you like the show, please rate, review, and share it with a friend. Let's share the light with each other.